Aventura police investigating a deadly hit and run that happened over the weekend.
There's nothing worse than to leave somebody to die on the side of the road like this. It's horrible. It's imperative that anyone that saw anything, please come forward, because there were no witnesses to this crash that we know of. There was evidence left on scene of a vehicle that did strike him, a vehicle or a sport utility vehicle.
And that vehicle was found this afternoon. The investigation continues.
I was angry that he was in the crosswalk and to get hit and leave the scene. Who knows if something could have been done.
Someone from the VA doesn't want to get more involved, or they're...
We got their whole group. We got their whole group, the 101st. They're all interested, and hopefully they're reaching out. Do you think he was crossing in this direction, or?
We think he was heading across the street from Publix, because this is where he always seemed to spend a lot of time. Probably going to the Walgreens, because that's what would have been open
At this time.
Crossing, and where he was struck, he was not in the crosswalk. He was actually to the right of the crosswalk, east of the crosswalk. As she's walking across, right about that line is where he was struck, but outside the crosswalk to the right of it. Between where the newspaper is on the curb and the crosswalk, somewhere in there is about where he was struck, and then where the markers are in the center median is where he was located when we found him. The damage on the car was definitely noticeable and significant, and the person driving knew they were in some sort of crash. She claimed that she just didn't know she hit a person. And she knew she hit something, and claims that she came back to the area looking and didn't see anything. You know, he wasn't overly tall, but he also was wearing dark clothing. But again, this is a lighted area. There's businesses here. There's businesses that were open, that there were lights on, and I've been here at night, and it's well lit. That you should have seen him. You know, she had her headlights on. We can tell that from the video that we got from just moments after the crash. As she left the next intersection, her lights were on. So it's not that she was driving without lights and she couldn't see him. She had her lights on. There's lights here. We believe she should have seen him.
One thing I remember is, showing up that day and just seeing all the officers out here working, and how much people really cared, and it meant a lot to me as Richard's friend that their team came out here and did the best effort to collect as much evidence as you guys could, and then it falls into the hands of the state attorney's office.
Move your car, you stupid Jew! Officials say what you hear in this video is bad enough, but take a look at the jacket she's wearing. It says Miami-Dade homicide. Move it! Move it! Oh my God. Move it! The video recorded last month outside a Boca Raton restaurant. The woman has been identified as Leslie Sokolov. She is a retired civilian employee of the Miami-Dade Police Department. The woman appeared to be upset with an SUV driver stopped in the street.
Just because you're Jewish and a Democrat doesn't give you a right to stay there.
Sokolov arrested. The arresting officer reported the female had slurred speech and could not maintain her balance without holding on to her vehicle. Sokolov's breathalyzer test almost twice the legal limit.
Move it!
Sokolov is the same woman behind a deadly hit and run from May of 2015. She hit and killed 70-year-old Richard James Flaherty. He was a homeless Vietnam veteran. It happened along Northeast 199th Street in Aventura. Sokolov eventually turned herself in to police. A witness says she couldn't believe the driver just took off.
They didn't even stay, and that's the worst part about it. That's somebody's family. You know, that's terrible. It's bad.
Charges were never filed in that case.
Well, why wasn't she charged?
You tell me.
Because she works for the police department?
You think so?
I think that's kind of messed up, isn't it?
Yeah.
Hit a guy like that? Leave him alone, hit and run. That was a hit and run.
Yeah.
That was very wrong.
So,
I guess it's true what everybody cries about when they say that until it like really hits home.
conspiracy?
And you realize it's true.
You're talking about like a conspiracy
Like,
that...
yeah, if you work for the police department,
With the
not to me,
government?
not because I know you're a good cop, and I know you for a long time. You are. You're one of those good cops that, like the real cop. He's like the real cop that deals with the public. You do.
Right.
I never
But-
told
but-
you that, but
but-
you do. So when I say people like you, it makes good cops like you look bad.
Yes, it does.
You know what I'm saying? That's
Yes,
what I'm
it
getting
does.
at.
There's a chance. Richard did some high-level stuff with the government.
Right.
Can
Absolutely.
you stretch that it wasn't an accident? You think?
That it was purposely done? No.
No.
No. I'd say I believe the story. The woman hit him, hit and run. I believe she might have been intoxicated, and then came back and said, "Oh, okay, I did it." You know, but with no way of testing her
Testing
while
it.
she was there.
24 hours later, you can't test something.
Right. So, no, I believe it was her 110%. He was walking and she was driving, and she hit and ran. I could only presume she was drinking, but she should have stopped and wait for police to come. She should have did it properly, especially knowing she works for a police department. Come on. I mean, that puts her a little higher than anybody else. She should know.
Should have known better.
Absolutely. Absolutely. She should have known. And I have no idea why the state attorney would do something like that. But I've learned one thing with the law. Sometimes it just doesn't have to make sense. It's just the way it is, the way they make it at the time. Like this. You know, it's wrong. And somebody should say something. He was just an ex-military man who came from Vietnam, from my era, and some guys came out a little messed up, and that's who he was. Messed up in the sense where he didn't want a home, enjoyed living in the bushes and stuff like that. That's his life. That was his life. A lot of people came back like that. I'm from there.
Yeah.
But he wasn't a drunk, belligerent. He was a gentleman. He said good morning, good evening, have a good night. We brought him food at times for the holidays. And I see him every day.
Yeah.
Every day I see him. Because I park my car over there, and I see him in the morning. He's always over here reading a newspaper like a gentleman.
Yeah, he loved the news.
Yep.
Yeah,
I don't know any drunks that sit up in the morning reading a newspaper.
No,
I got a lot of drunks that hang out over there, and they beg for change. I've seen Richard on the register when I was there and say, Richard, let me pay for that. He wouldn't let me. He carried himself like a gentleman. And the prosecutor or whoever is misjudging this whole case.
I think partially because he was like a homeless guy, nobody cares.
Right.
Exactly. If he was a governor's son or somebody important, a celebrity.
Or somebody that worked for Public. You know what I'm saying? No, he just wasn't a homeless guy. He was a warrior. He wasn't just a homeless guy. The guy had history. The guy had history. Why? Because he didn't live in an apartment and he decided to live here. I don't know really what much of a difference is. It's like somebody once said to me, we're all this far away, some of us, from being like Richie. We're all this far away. You know, I live paycheck to paycheck. I miss a few paychecks, that tree could be mine. I live paycheck to paycheck.
Yeah.
But no, they should rethink this case big time. Because I know the gentleman, and if she could live the rest of her life knowing she did this, good for her. Because I know I could. Good for her.
Amen.
I really think they need to rethink this case because Richie just wasn't a homeless guy. Far from it. Far from it. He just chose to live by that tree.